Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I'm Chris, and I am joined by my brothers, Adam.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hello.
We're back in the room once more to talk about some awesome stuff. And in this week's episode, we've got a couple of topics we want to get through. It's kind of different to the last few episodes in that we haven't got one specific topic. We're going to be talking about last week's State of Play, giving our thoughts on what it was like as a showcase, if anything stood out to us. We're going to be giving our thoughts on the Obi-Wan trailer for Disney Plus, which came out. And that's been rumored for years. Ever since Disney bought Star Wars, there was talk. I think it was originally a movie. And then anyway, so we finally have a teaser for that. So we're going to give our thoughts on that. And then we're also going to give our impressions of Horizon Forbidden West. You haven't heard us talk about a new game in quite some time since we went through the whole Uncharted series. And then we were talking about the Batman. But we, the three of us, are at various, very different stages of Horizon Forbidden West. And that in itself is going to be interesting to point out, to the point of maybe purchased to maybe finished. So we'll be able to give our impressions of that, but no spoilers. We're not going to be spoiling it or anything like that because, like I said, we're all at very different stages of it. But we will give our thoughts on that depending on where we're at. But we'd also love to hear from you guys at any point in the discussion. If there's anything that stands out to you or anything you want to bring up and you're watching this on YouTube, then you can jump down to the comments to share your thoughts. And while you're here, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and click the notification bell to show the podcast some support. If this is on audio platforms, and you could also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take to give your take on everything we bring up today. But without further ado, let's kick into the discussion. Okay, so let's start with State of Play.
The state of it.
The state of play, which was last week. It was Wednesday, the 8th of March. I don't know. The days are rolling into one.
Yes, because I was in Gory. No, it was Thursday, wasn't it?
No, it was last Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I was in Gory that day, so I didn't get around to
You watched it on
watching
Thursday, probably.
No, I actually never watched. I've watched stuff on YouTube. I never got a chance to watch it because Thursday I had to sleep.
Honestly, I can tell you didn't miss
Okay.
anything, I don't think.
But no, I know that there was I know that I watched two games. One of them was Forspoken, the trailer to that.
Right. But that's on your radar as well, right?
That is on my radar. Now, have they released? Please tell me, because I'm my mind is boggled at the moment. Have they released like a full gameplay segment of this game?
I don't think so. I think it's just gameplay within.
That's a little sort of like graphically that looks great to me, and I think the traversal of it looks really fun. It kind of looks like Spider-Man, but with jumping rather than swinging.
Right.
But like that kind of quite fun, fluid traversal. But they haven't shown. Now maybe they're wrong, and please tell us if we are wrong in this. But I can't remember if they've shown us a full like 15-minute, 20-minute, 10-minute, whatever full section of game,
like a showcase, nearly, right?
Showcase.
Yeah, I don't think they have.
Which is a little worrying because it's like, this looks good, but obviously you're going to be showing us what looks best. Like the designs look really cool, but I don't know how this really plays.
But I would imagine, it's been delayed, right?
Right. That's
so,
okay. Like that's
anyone who didn't know that the game has been delayed till October.
Right.
But I would imagine with that time frame now, in the summer when they're doing E3 and all that stuff, that's probably when we'll get that.
Yeah. No, I just think it's very weird at
look.
this point because they've done so many trailers. They've even talked about they got they interviewed some of the actors and talked about the characters. We have, but then if you look at something like Black Myth, the first thing you ever saw for it was a gameplay showcase, and then they showed you trailers. So then you actually know when they're intermingling between video and gameplay. You know how the gameplay plays because you've seen it. So
then I wonder, that might be an interesting point in terms of when a game is being shown to the world, what does the developer want to sell to you? And I feel like for Forspoken, they are selling more so the character they really want to sell this character to people.
Yes.
I think they have a lot of faith in this character and probably in Amy Hennig's writing. I think it's Amy Hennig writing on it, so that's
Okay.
interesting in itself. We've just talked about the entire Uncharted series. And I think they're trying to sell the world to you.
Which looks like
The world is not enough.
The world is not.
Which I think is a very gorgeous looking world. I like some of the designs. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Is that I think it's very strange that we haven't gotten a full showcase of gameplay for that. Now, please tell me, what else did they show at State of Play? Because I've said that's all.
Transformers. Was there Transformers? No, Gundam.
No, it was Gundam.
Gundam.
Oh, okay.
Well, see, right, here's the thing. They
Looks crap.
announced beforehand that, look, I think every State of Play, different people are going to get different things out of it, right? But I think everyone wants to find that headliner game within it, right? Like the headliner game that people are going to talk about. I think people who didn't read up on the thing maybe did themselves a disservice when they got themselves all excited for, like, I saw loads of tweets going, God of War Ragnarok, God of War. Like, it said it's going to be from Japanese developers. So, no, you're not going to see God of War Ragnarok. And
in
also,
itself is kind of, you can kind of be a little bit anticipate, like.
Well, I think they were trying to kind of, what's the phrase? Manage expectations. They're basically trying to say, look, we know you're waiting for.
No, I know, but the rumors surrounding, like, whether it's like the Konami IPs being involved, right? That's where
when
where
you hear
people,
Japanese developers,
or
Because
Gran
here's
Turismo, or even just the big.
Gran Turismo 7 is out now, right?
Is that out now?
I believe that's out now.
Oh, okay.
But maybe it's not out just yet. Maybe it's just coming up. I thought I saw lots of reviews for it at the moment, though.
I haven't seen any gameplay to that.
I know, right? Some of the music for it is great. Nothing But Thieves wrote a song for it. That was awesome. But I was actually excited for one that I thought was more realistic that could be shown, was the possibility of Final Fantasy 16. And I thought that was very realistic to be shown, and also that could have been the headliner game to talk about. But no Final Fantasy 16. And I think when I got towards the end of it and it said, now we have 2 more new games to announce from Square Enix, I was like, well, that's not newly announced, so but I'll just shut off now, I guess. But no, nothing really excited me except for maybe a longer look at Trek to Yomi, which is a game that was on my radar for this year. But then it still said spring 2022, but no actual release date, and we're getting pretty close to like the end of spring 2022. So I'm a little confused on, like, I would think by now, if you're still releasing in that quarter, maybe you would have a date. I don't know. I don't know. But then that's kind of a smaller game, so maybe that can be like, no, we're ready to release it now next week, so let's announce that, or whatever. I don't know. But that I'm kind of interested. Did anything interest you, Adam?
No, I actually, my own commentary watching it. I wasn't even gonna.
I was admired by myself.
I wasn't even gonna really watch it. I was kind of, Fagan was watching it, and I was actually just standing in the hallway, kind of just sipping my tea, and just taking the piss out of it, I guess, the whole thing. Because it's just like, what is the point in it? Why not just release trailers? Like, what's the point in this thing?
Well, see, I imagine there's some gamers that are so excited about the stuff that was shown. Like, that could have been a great showcase.
Maybe.
You know?
Well,
and I suppose it's.
I really miss the PlayStation experience, and I think that instead of having these scattered throughout a year, because you could just release these on YouTube, it's gonna get the same traction, really.
I feel though that
rather
with
than tuning in,
what they're doing with State of Play. Because, yes, you can just release it on YouTube, but that would save people a lot of time. But sometimes some videos, some games will get more... They will pop onto your radar, but not all of them will. So State of Play is more of a case of gamers go to State of Play and then they will see everything. Because even with things like E3 or the Game Awards or something, like... It was like fucking when Elden Ring was first announced. It was nearly impossible to try find was any other game announced at, like, E3 or something, because Elden Ring. And I was like, no, you're showing me the same thing here. Stop showing me Elden Ring. I want to see. And even if you type in E3 or whatever, whatever it is that you're typing in, PlayStation Experience, whatever. Like, again, Elden Ring, it was like Elden Ring 5 fucking times before it even got to anything else. So I think with this,
Yeah, there's an
It's
opportunity for like the smaller games that Sony is like helping push them into the forefront. But I think there's like a bit of a
sort of maybe an editing or kind of
it's
structure to it is
it's
weird.
like the benefit is that okay, so if I have a small game, I'm not going to get stage presence on E3 at all ever. So here's an opportunity. Maybe I can get my game in here.
Yes.
However, there's so much negativity around State of Play. I find, even myself, my perception of State of Play is that that's a complete waste of time. It's a complete waste of resources. I would love to see something like PlayStation Experience and allow these developers just to release it on YouTube. That negativity is now being affected on those particular games. Whereas if they just release it on YouTube, the people who are interested in Gundam are going to have their ears to the ground, looking everywhere for a Gundam game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's
I
not.
totally
I
hear
don't
you.
think that's mainstream. I don't think mainstream gamers play that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally hear you, but I think like to what Eric was saying, and not necessarily State of Play. I think there's too many State of Plays, and I would agree that there should be maybe one PlayStation experience per season, or maybe even just one per half year or something like that with a lot more stuff in it. So I don't agree with the formatting of it, but these types of showcases, for example, the likes of Trek to Yomi, I'd have never looked at it. I don't think I'd have never just clicked on.
When did we first see that though?
That was during. Now, it wasn't during a State of Play. That
Yeah.
was during E3. But I'm just talking about showcases in general now. But like, I would agree that State of Play there's too many of them.
Yep.
And there's a lot of confusion about what the point of them is, because sometimes they're geared on one game, and sometimes they're a showcase of a few games, and they're not every month, but they are most months. And it's a strange like. So is there a consistency to this or what? Like, so I do agree that there's a confusion and then a negativity around State of Play, but I also see the benefit in game showcases, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. But there's so many of them. There's Gamescom, there's E3, there's the Game Awards, there's Tokyo Game Show. There's already massive events going around all year round. That what does State of Play offer here really? Those games that we see announced, some of them we've seen before. And in the past few State of Plays, a lot of them have been games that we've seen before. I don't mind the ones that are like, okay, we're just going to focus on Ratchet and Clank or something like that. Like, if it was their opportunity to just focus on their own stuff, like the PSVR 2, why not just show... It's like
they
15
said
minute...
that they weren't gonna show that, but that is what's going to happen with the PSVR 2. It's going to get its own State of Play, I would imagine. And I would say that's when we're also going to get a greater look at God of War Ragnarok. And also then at, say, the likes of E3 and all this stuff, because they're going to want to wipe the floor with. It's going to be online, right?
E3? What, God of War Ragnarok? Oh no,
E3.
I imagine so. Yeah.
It's just not in person again. Yeah.
God of War Ragnarok, is that this year or next year?
They say it's this year.
It's supposed to be this year.
Okay.
Watch this space.
Yeah. Okay.
Follow me on this shit. So the greatest piece of gaming news for me personally came out the same day as State of Play, in the form of just a post, and that was that Gotham Knights has a release date. Yeah, baby. I don't care. I don't know what else gives a shit. I care. Gotham Knights is on my most anticipated games list this year, and it's coming out the 25th of October this year. So it's gonna be a cool Halloween game.
See, I just think things like that, right? Like you're constantly on the lookout for news like that, right? And then you discover that there's a post on it. You will probably tweet that, right? You and other people will tweet that if you're interested in it, and the general populace finds out from the people that tweet it. I just don't see the necessity of a State of Play other than it bringing negativity to these game devs. Like, do they actually get many new players? And maybe they do, but I don't know. I've every time there's a State of Play, there's a hype for one, and then after it, there's always well, that was shit.
Well, there's always just that hope, isn't there, that you're going to announce that either Konami has been acquired or that Metal Gear Solid is getting remade. Or
but all that
that's
shit,
all you want. Come on,
all that shit, right? Like when they bought Insomniac, that's all just a blog post.
Yeah. I know, yeah.
I think that stuff should be part of State of Play, is like to demonstrate
That's really
like
interesting,
the
right?
importance of them in connecting with PlayStation, things like that. Yeah, and you know what? Like, Microsoft doesn't do these.
No.
They don't do a State of Play. They actually have their own. Sometimes they have their own Xbox event.
Yeah.
They have a presence at E3. They have a presence at the Game Awards. Sony's absent from all of those things, and they continue these State of Plays, and that's the bit that's confusing.
Yeah. So totally, I agree. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, because I remember wasn't there 1 month last year where it was just like there was a State of Play, and there was the Game Awards, and there was the Tokyo Game Show, and there was something else, like, and it was just like loads of awards.
Bang.
I remember being very vocal about being fucking annoyed with all this shit because I was like,
Right.
I don't have the time or patience to
space
watch
them
all
out,
these.
throughout the year.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
a lot of them show the same stuff. So like people will tune into their favorite showcase. So for example, like the Tokyo Game Show, obviously that's like the big one for like the Japanese market. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? And yes, you can and there will be a couple of differences, but for the most part, the big headliner games will make a showcase at nearly all of them.
Deathloop.
You know? Deathloop, exactly.
Yeah.
But actually, what I thought was interesting on there's 2 points of interest I thought on Gotham Knights in terms of its release date, right? One was, and I don't know if this was total accident or if when it got to the point of when they're going to release it, it's like, you know what? Maybe let's go another extra week to just get it on that date, if you get me. Because it's 13 years to the day since they released Arkham Origins, the exact same date. 25th of October.
Whoa,
So
13 years.
That's interesting. Is 13 years? Is it really that long? Maybe it's 9.
I feel like 9.
9 sounds more right. No, do you know what it is? Yeah, sorry. The reason I had 13 on my brain is because it was the year 2013. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes way. Sorry.
Yeah.
9 years to the day. 9 years to the day. 25th of October. The other thing is,
why aren't we getting an Arkham Origins fucking remastered? Well, maybe
I
they
would
will.
play it. I would play it.
I'd play it.
Hell.
Absolutely.
I've always said, like, I do agree, Arkham Origins is the weakest game in the series, right?
Yep.
But that doesn't mean it's not a bad game. It's actually it's got really good story and some great character moments, and it's well worth playing. And actually, all of its issues could probably be fixed with a remaster.
Yeah.
Like that map and shit. But anyway, the other thing I think is interesting about that date is I would feel personally that it won't be long before we get an announcement that maybe we already have it, do we? Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was supposed to come out this year. Surely that's coming next year now, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I haven't really been
Between October and December, they're not releasing that as well. So
Oh yeah, that would
would not be a
Though
good
we
idea
have
for
seen studios do things like that in the past where you're like really like confusing shit as to why you're releasing 2 very similar games at the one time.
yeah, but I just don't see Warner Brothers doing that at this time.
Yeah, it's unlike them to make silly mistakes.
No, but I really don't. I'm talking.
Yeah,
about
I'd
from
say
a
it's gonna.
point of view. I don't
Suicide
think
Squad's
so.
probably gonna push, isn't it?
Maybe that's already out there. Let us know if it is. Maybe that's already like slated for 2023.
I haven't
But
really
it was
been
originally 2022.
paying attention with it.
No, I'm way more interested in Gotham Knights.
So
just
am
wanna
I.
Explore Gotham. I just want to explore Gotham, and I love any other reinterpretation of those characters. I'm interested in. So that's where you get me, guys. But then anyway, moving on from.
Are you a Batman fan?
Might be. I like Robin. No, moving on from State of Play and the gaming news there during the week. I think it was the same day, was it, that the trailer for Obi-Wan dropped, if not the day before?
It was more or less around the same time. Yeah, the trailer for Obi-Wan dropped, where we have an older Ewan McGregor exploring Tatooine and other places.
I really wish it was just called Kenobi, though.
Right. That's a more appealing title, right? Kenobi.
Yeah.
Or if it was just called Hello There. Maybe that'll be the episode, the title of the episode 1. Hello There.
That would be great. What's it called?
It's called Obi-Wan Kenobi. I just think that's a bit of a mouthful of a show.
Oh,
Are you watching Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I
Yeah.
thought it was just called Kenobi.
Yeah, I think
No,
it'd be a better name.
It would be a better name. What did
Wow.
you think of the trailer?
Looks good.
Looks good.
I've no interest in like I didn't watch as much as I like Boba Fett as a character. I didn't bother with the Book of Boba Fett, and I'm really not interested in the Mandalorian. But this is the TV show that has my interest, because like that to me, that is Star Wars.
What do you mean?
Well, like when you think about Star Wars, it's the fourth one, right? It's the old wizard picking up the young heroine to go take on the Empire, and just seeing like what was he doing in between the events. That's what I want to see. You know, does he go for does he do shopping?
Picking up the young heroine.
Or hero, young hero. Sorry.
Just fucking doping himself up. Oh, yeah.
The young hero.
Heroine.
Being called by the young heroine.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, yes.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, no, it looks class, and the music choice was very good as well.
Music choice.
But honestly, the music was the hype of the whole trailer.
Now, I probably still won't. No, first of all, I don't have Disney Plus, so I won't be able to watch it. But I probably still won't watch it because I've seen what trailers with awesome music does. I've seen what happens in the past, so I'm a little bit like, okay, I'll wait till.
Would you have an interest in the premise at all?
Yeah. Premise. Depends. Because all I know is Obi-Wan is wandering around from place to place on Tatooine. And he's looking out for Luke Skywalker, which is cool, from the shadows. And the Inquisition are up to something that the Inquisitors do.
Yeah, they're hunting.
I wasn't sure about them, right? Now. That's the bit where I was like, like, are they Sith or what's the character?
They're yeah, I suppose so. But
they're Jedi turned evil. They're not necessarily Sith.
They're not Sith.
They just use.
When Sidious created the Empire,
you go on.
He did away with the Sith.
Oh.
Because the Sith code does not appeal to him. It's not a good thing.
Right.
So he's sort of like, him and Vader are Sith, but he's not trying to like create like more Sith.
He's a Sith Empire. So he created the Inquisitors to be his hunters and his enforcers. So they're dark Jedi essentially who use red lightsabers, but they're enforcers for the Empire. They're not Sith.
Okay.
Yeah, it turns out to be a Sith doesn't just mean to have a red lightsaber.
Yeah. There's a whole other thing to it.
But yeah.
Okay.
They're actually from that character, I think, that's shown in the trailer is a character from the Star Wars Rebels TV show.
Yeah, the Inquisitors were explored very much in that.
They're carried over from that.
They are canon. There's comics that talk about them. They are in the Jedi Fallen Order video game. So they're at this point they're very canon, very solidified within the Star Wars lore nowadays.
Yeah, I always just felt that they were a bit of a retcon about how do we get past. You know, we actually need lightsaber fights somehow.
But we can't have Vader. We can't. All.
Yeah, we can't have that. There's only two, and that just always felt like a retcon to me.
It is in a way, but unfortunately, they've done it so much now that it's canon. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
it's no longer like, oh, wouldn't that be a wild idea in the Force Unleashed video game so that we could have a couple of lightsaber fights? It's like they've been doing it for the last 10 years now in all sorts of media. That happened. Yeah. That's a thing now.
Okay, that's fair.
But
it'd kind of be cooler though if they just had their regular lightsabers though, wouldn't it? Rather than just everyone gets a red one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that would be.
It's like, what's the deal with the red?
I don't know. Just so you can tell who the bad guy is.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Oh, okay.
I mean, it would make more sense. It'd probably be more cost efficient. Because not every kyber crystal is red. So, yeah, it would be more cost efficient to go, oh, right, okay, well, here's a blue one.
That's what I want to see. I want to see a breakdown into the finances of, like, how do you finance the Inquisitor?
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
No,
like, when, like, what was when they're building their fortress on that watery planet, right? What was their thought process? Like, when they went up to the Emperor, went, Emperor, I want to build a station that's half is above water and the other half is below water. I want to know if like Emperor Palpatine was like, are you kidding me? I spent like 10 trillion credits on this fucking space station to blow up a planet. You want me to build a stupid space like fortress underwater?
Where's that? What fortress is that?
That's the Inquisitor's fortress.
Oh yeah,
you do briefly see it in the trailer for but it looks good. It looks good.
It looks like a decent show. I have to be honest. I think I'd prefer a movie. But I'm kind of like that with most things.
Yeah.
Like shows, I don't really like shows. And the reason being is they just all get dragged out. They're always dragged on. There's always too many seasons. It's that I have to agree. There's a fascinating interview with Damon Lindelof, the writer of Lost, where he was just constantly arguing ever since episode 1 of Lost with the studio, like, how many seasons can I do? I need to know when I'm going to end this. And they're like, no, don't think about ending it. Just keep going, you know? And he was like, if I keep going, this is going to suck. And a lot of people dropped off when it started to suck because they realized the same problem that the writer was trying to say. Is like, if I don't know when this ends, then I'm not working towards anything, and I just have constant questions and no answers. So
yeah,
I get worried about TV shows a little bit.
I get it, because like, name a TV show that's ends brilliantly, but
yeah,
I also say that about the spin-off movies. They're never great either.
Well,
so I think the TV show is the better of the two evils.
See, there's two Star Wars spin-off movies that were made by Disney. One of them, in my opinion,
well, I consider the next 3 to be as well. So
yeah, I know, but one of them, I argue, is the best Star Wars movie under Disney.
Okay,
and that's Rogue One.
Yeah,
I think that was excellent.
I think I prefer Force Awakens though.
Sure.
Than that one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I mean you do, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you maybe.
Yeah.
I prefer Rogue One as a movie. Force Awakens would be the close second, and then after that,
yeah, it's just
what the
goes
fuck
off the rails.
But yeah, I just think like with Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen coming back together, I just think it'd be nicer as a bigger event rather than some drawn out show.
I think the TV show is the better platform for this.
Like how far will they go? When will it end? Or like, do we go right up to? Will we age him up to when he first meets Luke as young Luke? Like, how do you end a show called Obi-Wan Kenobi during that time period?
Well, I think, you see, the thing is with a streaming service like Disney, right? That they're not their motivation with TV shows is different than a motivation of the TV shows of
on Netflix.
Well, even before streaming service was a thing, right? Because with like Lost, for example, well, it's the TV networks buy them, and it's they make their money off the adverts. Basically, that's how they do it. That's a completely different motivation to making money. But with Disney, it's like, well, we just want to have a new like show. So like, if they decide actually it's only going to be one season, it's grand. They have so much other IP to work with. I think their motivation's a little different, and they don't have to draw it out like the way TV shows used to be.
They don't have to, but unfortunately, when one season does really well and there's raving reviews, they do. They go, right, well, green light for season 2 then. Whether the writers have a season 2 or not.
Well, let's face it, I think three seasons is generally the sweet spot, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, yeah, three seasons, because when you have that in mind, you can definitely plan everything much better. You can essentially do a 3-point story arc.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
Yeah. It's interesting, really, because to see, where would they go with it? How far are they going to go? Because Luke looks like he's a kid.
Yeah.
So he's 4 or 5, so about 5 years. You can see there's kind of a bit of a wrinkle and stuff. So, like, are they gonna go until Luke is 19? And are we gonna see like the old gray hair and shit?
Well, I'd be interested to see the.
Is the Mandalorian going to be in it? Because he seems to be an older TV show.
Probably, he probably will be. But yeah, it's like cool. he's like the connecting point. He's the Nick Fury of the fucking Star Wars.
Oh my god, they're gonna do Avengers with Star Wars.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see that like Luke is or Obi-Wan's constantly looking out for Luke and helping him and all this kind of stuff. But obviously he's getting absolute zero credit from Uncle Owen. And like Owen is constantly making up all these fucking weird stories, like how he becomes the old Ben character, the wacko that everyone dislikes.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. That's why I said like I think I would personally prefer it as a movie. I'm still interested in the story, and I'm interested to see Ewan McGregor play the character again. And I mean the music is just you know. Especially for me, actually, like Jewel of the Fates is great, but Jewel of the Fates gets played by everyone. to hear the rendition of Battle of the Heroes trailer, I was like, oh yeah, mwah.
Yeah, how
That
does
is good.
how does Vader come into it? Or is it just going to be there's going to be scenes of Vader, and it wipes
here's
over
the thing,
to
right? Here's the thing. They're
Yeah.
going to fight, right? They're going to fight each other, and then that's going to totally retcon the scene when Obi-Wan fights Vader in A New Hope, where basically they haven't met since Mustafar.
They haven't met in 19 years.
But look they've done lots of things to kind of retcon the original Star Wars. Like George Lucas did it himself, Obi-Wan tells Luke, is like, you should go meet the person who trained me in the ways of the Jedi, and then in Phantom Menace it's absolutely not the case. So I suppose sometimes it's like, well, I did say that then, but I have another idea for a story, so I might as well tell it.
He kind of did though, didn't he?
No, Adam, no. Teaching a room full of kids very basics is not the Jedi Master who instructed me in the ways of the Force.
No, but Yoda,
Qui-Gon Jinn is the
Qui-Gon is his master, but Yoda then became his master and gave him continued training to do in his exile on Tatooine.
Yeah, but that was maybe like a session. Like
no, it's like lots of training to do.
It's
like I still have teachings for you to do.
So will we see? Hold on, that opens an avenue. Will we see Obi-Wan journey to Dagobah and train under Yoda?
Will Qui-Gon
Jinn appear as a ghost in it, played by Liam Neeson? Now that would be cool.
That would be very cool.
Possibly, yeah.
I would say
maybe.
But then here's the
maybe
other thing.
Obi-Wan
Darth Maul
and Vader
is going to be in it, right?
Yeah. Spider legs.
That pisses me off. And I love Darth Maul. Don't get me wrong.
No. They won't have.
He doesn't have spider legs.
I don't think Darth Maul will be in it.
Yes, he will. Remember the end of Solo?
Yes, I remember the end of Solo. But the first time Darth Maul meets Obi-Wan again after he gets his robot legs and loses at the Battle of Mandalore, the next time he sees him, Obi-Wan is on Tatooine, but a very old man, and the fight lasts 2 seconds.
What did I just say about continuity, though?
But this is under Disney, though.
Yeah, but they're not going to care about that. They're going to be like, yeah, of course we're going to put Darth Maul in it.
No, they can put Darth Maul in it, but Obi-Wan and Darth Maul aren't going to meet because of Rebels. Yeah, because of Rebels.
Okay.
And see, that's another problem with the Inquisitors is none of the Inquisitors are really going to die because most of them all die in Rebels. And those that don't die in Rebels die in Jedi Fallen Order. And those that don't die in Jedi Fallen Order die in the comics. So none of the Inquisitors are going to die either. So I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. I like to call it Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I do feel like it's just gonna 2 episodes in and we're on Mandalore.
Yeah, like a bit like The Hobbit. It's like it's about The Hobbit. Oh, where's The Hobbit?
Yeah.
Right.
Or the Book of Boba Fett, where it's like the book where it's Boba Fett for like 2 or 3 episodes. Then it's
I haven't seen that one. So
it goes on to the Mandalorian for like the rest of the show, and then it's back to Boba Fett at the end.
Does it really do that?
Yeah, that's what it does.
Oh my god,
I didn't know that. I watched the first episode of Book of Boba Fett, and honestly, I was really bored, so I didn't.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's actually about Mandalorian and
I love Star Wars. I fucking love Star Wars.
Mandalorian and Grogu reunite in the Book of Boba Fett, and then there's a big fight at the end where the Mandalorian and I don't know, what's his name again? Din or something? I don't know. But anyway, that chap, the Mandalorian chap, Mando helps Boba Fett in some like Western showdown fight in some place in Tatooine. That's how it ends. But yeah, no, like the Book of Boba Fett is not about Boba Fett at all.
Do you think Star Wars has really lost touch of its fantasy route?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. But I think maybe this show, maybe Obi-Wan will be the most fantasy-inspired show that they've done. You know, I think they're trying to do genre pieces with each one, right? So Book of Boba Fett was, well, initially I think it was supposed to be like a gangster show, was what they were thinking, right? But I don't know if they captured that. Or the Mandalorian was supposed to be like kind of a Western, or your lonely ranger who wanders into town and takes on jobs. That's sort of the But again, I was like, I think I'd prefer this as a movie. Like I was like, I really like the concept of the Mandalorian, but there's a couple of episodes where I'm like, this is a bit dragged out. You know, I think a 2-hour film of that story would have actually been a really good movie. Just called The Mandalorian. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. We're looking at kind of the underbelly of the Star Wars universe, you know? But anyway, let us know, guys. What do you think of the Obi-Wan trailer? Are you excited for it? And have you watched all the other Disney shows, and what do you think of them? Maybe I should pick up Book of Boba Fett again and see it out, but let us know. But then, our next topic, I'm really curious where people are at with this. Horizon Forbidden West came out last month.
Right.
It kind of hasn't been in the conversation a lot because Elden Ring came out the following week, and that's all anyone's talking about in the gaming space, really. Even though a lot of people got Horizon and a
That
lot of people
happened
liked
with
it.
the first one, didn't it?
With the first one, it was Breath of the Wild.
That was it.
I do feel like
they
it's
keep releasing
unfortunate-
these open world games against
Yeah.
other open world games.
I do think it's unfortunate that Horizon couldn't make its. Look at obviously if a game can only be released when it's ready to be released, but it is unfortunate that it didn't make its release date of last year. Because I think it would have gotten an awful lot of attention last year.
Yeah.
But in this year of Elden Rings and possible God of War Ragnaroks and,
Yeah.
there's a few other big open world games coming where it's like, is this just going to be the year of the battle of the open worlds? And to be honest, I don't know if I want that many open worlds. They're long. Open worlds are long. Anyway, speaking on Horizon Forbidden West then, and no spoilers here. This isn't like a review time. This is just us giving our impressions of whatever experience of the game we have had so far. Adam, I don't know if you've even played it, so let us know. Have you played Horizon Forbidden West?
I haven't even bought it.
That's what I'm talking about. Excellent. Okay.
So that's as much as I can add to the conversation.
That's what me and Adam were laughing about. Because it's just like what you're saying is like, all right, some of us like we're at the start, some of us possibly.
No, I had a suspicion. That's why I was saying like we're at very different phases of it. Like one of us having not bought it. Eric, where are you at?
I think the middle of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose it's hard to tell.
But
you're well into the game though.
It's like it's hard for me to say where I am without spoiling it.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have finished the main story, so that's where we're at.
Wow.
But in saying that, I did very little side questing, very little. I pretty much just pushed on.
I think that's how I would play
the main story.
if I ever get it.
I've been doing a good few side quests as well. I haven't been doing a lot of like the kind of like hunting grounds and like fighting the arenas. There's a lot more of that stuff in it that I haven't really done. But I still think I'm about halfway through it, or nearing halfway.
I wonder at this point in the conversation, given the very, very different phases of where we're at with that game, if we should pass over hosting rights to Adam here for a second. That Adam can ask us any questions that he thinks would be relevant to someone who hasn't played the game, who might be wondering about it from a non-spoiler perspective.
Sure. Okay.
If that makes sense.
Well, my thing is like with the first Horizon as well. I didn't get that on launch. It was actually a year later I got it, and I played it.
Yep.
And I think it was on sale, and it had the Frozen Wilds DLC with it. I kind of feel like this is probably going to be similar. I'm not that in love with the concept of Horizon, really. I feel I can get similar enough experiences from other games, but I'm interested to try it out. But based on, I can only make comparisons between the first one. So based on those, what would be the major differences? And maybe starting with things like the loading screen experience. Has that how much has that impacted the gameplay in comparison to the first one?
It's so fast. It's
so
Ghost
fast.
of Tsushima fast, like.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're fast traveling, yes, a little bit of writing comes up, and every so often I'm reading that and I haven't even realized that X has been down in the corner like the whole time to continue, and I'm thinking that I'm waiting for a load, but actually what it is just like, look, push X whenever you're ready. But if you'd like to read this bit of information, here you go. It takes maybe
it's real second, like
it's ridiculous.
Really quick, really fast.
I wonder why they don't
especially
just push those tips into the the pause screen or something.
Well, I suppose if it takes any bit of time at all, maybe they want to fill the screen with something.
Yeah.
And then in doing that, then it's like, okay, well, here's a chance for us to, if we don't feel like we can place them anywhere else, here's a chance to put in either tips or bits of lore or whatever it is.
Okay.
Like,
I do love lore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
Tasty
Oh,
lore.
Now in the first
tasty
one,
lore.
Yeah.
I felt, nice open world, lots of variety in terms of different locations in terms of how they look.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt not very compelled to necessarily stay and explore those areas. There was no one to speak to. There wasn't really much to do in them unless you had a side quest in that area, other than just killing robotic dinosaurs for resources and things like that. But generally, the areas you go to, there's not much to do in those areas. Has that changed?
No, I think that, well, for me personally, has somewhat stayed the same. There's still not really. There's little shelters around, but there's not enough to take note that it's like, wow, there's like dotted shelters everywhere. And at shelters, you have one person and you can sit down beside them. They tell you a rumor about some ancient ruin somewhere. So there's that sort of stuff, but it's still very much, if you're wanting to go to people, you'd have to go to the settlements.
Okay.
But
there's no one in the world necessarily.
There's not, no, because there was even wandering merchants, I think, in the first one.
Was there?
And that, I think there was. Maybe I'm wrong there. But
Hard
there's
to come
no
across, I think.
Yeah, they were hard to come across. But now there's no wandering. There's more wildlife. There's more types of wildlife in this.
Okay.
The much more rich and diverse landscape. And you actually have to hunt and collect supplies to upgrade all your pouches and stuff. So like there's different types of desert landscapes, and then like quickly go into like jungle, and there's even snow, and so it's quite a diverse map in what they have. And the water is beautiful. The water is
Oh my God.
The water is stunning.
Well, the world is the best character in it.
Okay.
100%. The world itself is fucking stunning to the point where it's like, obviously the Horizon games are very much about trying to save the world from its own, if anyone's played the first one, they know that it's kind of alluding towards climate and, environmental danger, I suppose. But this very much gives you a world worth saving, right? Not that the first one wasn't also beautiful, but oh my God. The amount of screenshots I took. It's like all I've done with the game is just taking screenshots of like, wow, look at that view. It's stunning. I think there is some side content that's extra in this game that wasn't in the first game, but it really depends on whether that interests you or not. There's a mini game that you could play called Machine Strike, which is sort of like a Fort Condor style mini game.
Okay.
And you can meet different people around the world and play that game with them. I wasn't that interested in it personally.
No, I haven't really played it either. It's not as good as Gwent. Gwent is the pinnacle of
is it
mini game
mini games. Well, I mean, it ended up with its own game, so
I know.
Yeah,
I hear you.
So many memes.
Yeah.
Like,
okay,
that became famous.
yeah, it's no Gwent. It's no Gwent.
Okay.
It is like Fort Condor, actually. That is a good comparison.
But there is like side content there, but it will really depend on how interested you are. But I have one of my gripes, but it's also something I don't know if it's like an actual issue with the game or what. In the first game, I was compelled as Aloy, as a character, to do more side quests.
Okay.
Because I felt that Aloy's motivation was that she was always looking for acceptance. So I wanted to help as many people as possible. And as Aloy in this game, I only want to push on with the main quest.
Yeah.
And I do not have time for anyone else.
Okay.
Which is, I feel it's a good character progression based on how the last game ended. And based on what she knows. But it does mean that I like when someone's like, hey, would you be able to help me find some materials? I do find I'm like, dude, that doesn't fucking matter. Fuck your materials right now. It's like, I gotta go. Time is running out. You know what I mean? So there is that. So it's like, is that a flaw in game design? I don't know. Like, I'm like, I can do all that side errandy shit maybe when I'm finished. And maybe if the game ends in a way where you're allowed to explore afterwards, great. I have end game content, but so I don't have time for that right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I have a flaw with that in a few different kind of RPG open world games or choice based games and stuff. When you're very quickly hit with a ticking time bomb, you are very much going to, like, even though some of the side quests can be awesome, I remember I did do one. I can't remember which side quest it was, but there was one. I was like, "This is actually really cool," and the music was really cool. For oh, the music actually
The
is hot.
music.
The music is so good. The music is
Oh,
so
that
good.
bass. Oh, that
Oh, the
bass.
base, the base, and all you're doing is climbing a tower at the base. Oh, it's so good.
It's my favorite thing in the whole game.
That's not
Yeah,
good.
yeah. No, I was just like, I could jam out to this all day. Like, I loved it.
I hope this
Sorry.
tower never ends.
Yeah.
But there were some side quests that I did was really, really cool. But I always find that sometimes when you are building a world that you're wanting people to explore, don't very quickly put a ticking time bomb on it. Put the ticking time bomb maybe halfway through.
Do you think this, like, because I've always wondered about the first Horizon as well, is that some of the things that interested me the most while playing it were things like what I would call the tombs, let's say, you know,
the cauldrons and stuff. Yeah,
cauldrons, and there's a lot of moments that ends up being kind of linear in the first game, to the point of what's the point in it being an open world game? Now, does Horizon 2 need to be open world, or does it feel like it could benefit from being a little bit more open linear?
I think in the way that a lot of the main story is done, it kind of is open linear.
Okay.
But then there is an open world beyond that for your side objectives, right?
Yeah.
Which sounds strange, but like in terms of like even like in combat, I felt this time around there was more options. Like it wasn't like, okay, this mission is solely a stealth mission, this mission is solely a fighting mission. Yes, of course, there's parts of the game that are like that.
Yeah.
But I felt that in a lot more of the scenarios, I had way more options to. I can stealth this. I don't even have to fight anyone if I could get by and not fight anyone, or I could take everyone on, or I could do traps or whatever it is. And even like there's skill trees this time around, and you can really like you can decide like I'm always more into melee combat when it's up close. I've always been that way, right? And one of my issues with the first game was that the melee combat was too weak, and the ranged combat then like the machines are nearly like moving too fast and too in your face for like like bows and arrows. I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. It was always my biggest gripe with the first game was I thought the combat needed work on. It hasn't been like an overhaul or anything, but I've been able to put a lot of my skills into the melee combat to the point where now it's like I've got like a fucking buster sword. I don't mean how it looks, but like I can really take on machines with it. So I think like you have more options in how you approach it. And I think that really helps. So in that sense, and as well, I suppose with the fact that you are playing a hunter-gatherer character in a hunter-gathering society, it does lend itself to an open world in which you gather resources at your own pace and you decide how you look and you decide, you know, what you need for your mission.
Yeah.
But like I said, the characters' motivations pushed me on in terms of the main story. I did not feel like I could stop and hang it out.
Yeah, because in the first one, her motivations were very much that of an explorer, of a hunter-gatherer.
Well, she'd never seen the world, right? She actually wanted to see the world.
Yeah, she's a very inquisitive character. In this one, she's a very determined character.
Very much
like what Chris said, very much does not have time for anyone.
But they are, well, it is interesting because what you have, I suppose, like one of the very interesting things about the first game was the way they built a tribal society around technology. Like I thought that was all fascinating. Like, you know, they looked at AI as goddesses and things like that. And in this game, I suppose what you have is you have a society that's still like that, but you have the one character who knows the truth. You know what I mean? And suddenly everyone else sounds stupid. And in some cases, it's like, it actually is very funny in some cases, with some of the characters, with what they're saying. And also in her trying to explain things to people and trying to like stop herself and explain it in a language that they'll understand. Some of that is really, really interesting. But yeah.
So is actually Birch much better, or well, she was amazing in the first one anyway. But like, is there a good growth in the character, or she just feels similar?
Definitely more determined. I think that's probably the right word. And also,
determined and stoic, I'd find. She doesn't have the almost joyful innocence or
There's pretty much no joy in her.
no, there's no joy in her. The
Oh, that sounds amazing.
enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, but I actually found at times though where I was like, I don't know, Aloy sounded a bit one note.
Yes.
And after
I think
a
that's
while,
the
I was
kind of the importance of side quests. Then I know there's like the
Yeah.
ticking time bomb thing, and it's one thing that something like Final Fantasy does really well is that the Final Fantasy games tend to be always doom and gloom is what you're heading towards, but there's always these little moments, whether it's just I don't know, laughing at the edge of a cliff with Yuffie, or not Yuffie, Yuna, or
Yeah.
if it's in
going on a date at the Gold Saucer.
yeah, right. It's these little moments where the characters can kind of have a break and try and find joy in the horrible shit that's happening or coming along. And I always felt that the first Horizon had side quests because it has to have side quests, as opposed to those side quests necessarily build a good relationship or is a distraction from what's going on, or you want to get to know other characters. And that's why I'm always a bit like I was always confused by the first one being an open world, just because it always felt like, even though it's a massive world, you're kind of going from one point to another point in the world. And most open world games, you're actually going from here to here to here, and then back over to there, and then back to here, and then back to there. Like, it tends to not have that. So in terms of exploring the open world, does it feel like you're being funneled to a singular point? Or is it that, like even God of War is not an open world game, but you do find that there is a bit of backtracking. Or the Arkham games, they're not really open world except for maybe night, but there is that kind of, like, you're using the world.
At the moment for me, I can't obviously speak for Chris, he's cleared. At the moment for me, it is very much I'm starting here and I am going along.
Okay.
Now it could be like do, but it's still a straight dotted line.
That's interesting.
That's
because I feel like without getting into spoilers, you have to go back and forth across the map.
Okay, so it does make
for
better use of the
a large
world.
portion of the game. Actually, I feel like you have to go back and forth. It's actually part of the objective, I would say, is that you have to go back and forth across the map, and you benefit from doing so. But also you'll be given main objectives, and while they will say, look, there's a level recommendation as to when you should
a bit like
this
Frozen
main
Wilds.
objective. Yeah. But it is up to you in what order you do those main objectives.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
So there is freedom there, and then you could decide go do lots of like extra content, do yourself up, and go for like the hardest one first if you want. But I just followed the kind of the recommendations in terms of when I was at level wise. But that's because I wasn't doing a lot of the side content.
And do the enemies, the wildlife, then do they scale with you, or could you accidentally stumble upon the hardest thing ever?
Yeah, you can stumble upon some very difficult machines. Yeah.
I've actually found that in this one I have had to use more types of weapons when taking down particular enemies.
Oh, cool. Okay.
The enemies are actually a little trickier in this and stuff, and there are they're weaker to different types of weapons. Like one enemy might be weak to fire, another one's weak to ice, so then you'd have to actually, kind of match that. Otherwise, they're quite tough because they have.
Feels more like an RPG than the first one, I think.
Yes, it does.
In that sense.
That's cool.
And also, it's I couldn't help myself. Early on when playing the game, I was like, man, I'm so excited for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. Because I was just like, I was looking at the world and I was going, wow, imagine like what Gaia could look like in this sense. But also, man, I'm sure people have seen footage of it when they were like following Horizon. It's not like a spoiler or anything, but the new enemy, the Slitherfang, the robotic snake, the way that thing moves, I was like, oh, I cannot wait to meet the Midgar Zolom. It's just like, that is amazing. It's so cool. The Slitherfang is actually awesome, I think, anyway. Some of the machines are really, really cool, and then there's also some really like great moments throughout the game. I am curious though when people have all finished it and everyone can openly talk about how everyone's going to feel about the story and how everyone's going to feel about the ending.
Okay. Well, two last questions then.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
The controller.
It exists.
So in terms of its utilization of the haptic feedback and the triggers, is it like it exists and it's fine?
It exists.
Or is it like, wow, like Astro Playroom?
No,
good?
it's not Astro Playroom.
Okay.
But you will still notice it.
You will notice it way more in the triggers.
Yes.
Okay.
Not a lot of haptic feedback.
Yeah, sometimes there's a bit of vibration, and it's also, it depends on, obviously, if you're using like a big ass strong bow or something, there will be a bit more tug than if you're using the small hunter bow. There's less of it. So they actually.
Does it become annoying then? Is there ever like it's in the way, or does it add to the experience?
I found it difficult at first, but then I got really used to it. And then I didn't even notice it anymore nearly.
Okay.
But just in terms of talking about it now, I'm like, oh yeah, no, the triggers were adaptive, but not a lot of haptic feedback in the controller.
Is that unfortunate, or does it matter?
I think it could be, but I do wonder, like,
it could be a PS4 thing.
Yeah, or how possible is that at this point with a world this big to get it on every surface? Like, I mean, even like the physics on snow when you're walking through it or sand is amazing.
I mean, like,
and
Ayla, like, going on to just details, because like her fingers actually turn blue when she's in cold.
Jesus.
Didn't they use the engine from Death Stranding?
Well, Death Stranding used the engine from Horizon Zero
Dawn. The first
Dawn.
one, yeah.
Oh, is that what it is? Well, whatever Kojima did with it, though, because there is
he improved the lighting, I think, isn't it?
Not only that, the facial animations.
Yeah.
Way better.
Because apart from Aloy, who's moving around way too much sometimes, it's ridiculous, and her hair is all over the place. But like, even there's a scene where like her friend Aaron is talking, and oh my god, his face is incredible. He's like a real person. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. It's like subtle nuances. It's not like overacting. It's not Until Dawn big fucking teeth. It's it is wow. Like, it's really good. Like, they're really acting. It's fantastic.
Yeah. But like
I said, Aloy, unfortunately, because they obviously have to use her for all sorts of scenarios, and it's not the same for every like NPC. Some of them do that usual video gamey thing where they're moving too much or they're not looking at the thing they're talking to. But some of the characters, when they're talking, is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Like, you can really almost tell what they're thinking when you're looking at their eyes.
What's that engine called? Desma?
Desma engine, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, there's a big special thank you to Hideo Kojima in the credits.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
No, he did major work. Well, not him, but his team did major work on it. Is there anything from the speaker then in the controller? I think the first one did utilize the speaker, didn't it, for audio logs and things like that?
Oh yeah, I imagine.
Very
same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, last question, which is another techie question.
Yeah.
How much storage do you need on your PS5 to install this game? How much storage does it actually take up?
Like 70.
I can't remember. Or was it like 90 something gigabytes?
I don't think it was 90 gigabytes. I think it was like 75 gigabytes.
Wow, that's good.
Really?
That's impressive. If you can get like
I'm
an
not
open
saying really
world...
to you. I'm saying really to 75.
Okay.
75 seems small.
Yeah, because
I honestly can't remember. I remember having to.
Isn't Spider-Man that?
I definitely had to delete something.
I had to delete something to get it on anyway.
Yeah.
But,
what did you delete?
At the time, I think I deleted Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut.
I didn't delete that.
Got rid of Ghost.
I'd never delete that.
I needed to get rid of something with a big size, like, you know.
No.
It was big enough that I had to.
I think it's interesting to look through the games. It's like, well, what can I do without now to install this
for a little while?
Yeah, to install this game
for a little while. Yeah, absolutely. But I did feel actually throughout this game, there's a bit of Ghost of Tsushima vibe in it, a little bit.
Yeah, you have to follow some foxes sometimes.
No, there are foxes around though. But I'd say they're the same foxes from. I'd say they use them.
There's a question then.
What?
Which is the better game?
Oh, Ghost of Tsushima.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yeah.
But
That's amazing.
because
That's-
yeah, sorry now, but Ghost of Tsushima is one of the best games I've ever played.
Okay, cool.
So good. So good.
Ghost of Tsushima is one of the
Oh.
best open world games ever made. Period.
It's better than Skyrim.
Might be some.
I didn't say that. Shut the
Yeah.
fuck up. How dare you say that? No, so and that's not. I'm not trying to be offensive towards Horizon when I say that. That's
Yeah.
not like like Horizon
Yeah.
doesn't even come close. I like the Horizon games and I like the Horizon world, but I prefer Ghost of Tsushima. But I could see someone saying they prefer Horizon.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so yeah,
I think the machines are kind of scarier in this one, to be honest. I'm a little bit more like, I don't really want to fight them as much.
yeah, I
Because
had
of the amount of
occasions where I wanted to avoid them.
Okay. Well, those are my questions. I think anything else we're getting into spoiler territory.
Excellent.
That's what I want to
excellent.
know. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's going to conclude it for this week's episode, actually. And so, on anything that we talked about, but even there for Horizon, if anyone's been playing it, please no spoilers, just because Adam hasn't played it at all and Eric's not finished it yet. But maybe just let us know, what did you think of the game overall in a non-spoiler point of view, or was there anything technical that stood out to you as well? And on anything else that we brought up, you can please let us know all your thoughts in the comments if you watch this on YouTube. And while you're there, why don't you give this a thumbs up, hit subscribe, click the notification bell for all future content. We would appreciate the support. And if you listen to us on audio platforms, please do touch base with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, to give your take on State of Plays, on the Obi-Wan Show, or on Horizon Forbidden West. Thank you guys for checking this out. We'll be back to talk about more stuff next week. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.